Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, it's another Wednesday. It's another edition of the new Mattriarchy, where things are faster and shorter, but just sort of.
And
I am
crazier.
your I am your host for the next hour. This is Reese, Matt Reese, and I am joined, as typically, by Twitless.
Yo,
And tonight, our special guest is Marcel Dupree, who has written just a bunch of stuff.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely, man. I've kind of wanted to talk at you for a while. I just haven't ever pulled the trigger till now, because I'm just impressed by the volume of stuff that you've put out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, like, how many different properties are you currently writing for?
I don't have a number because I have like a bunch of stuff in production as well. But I say currently we have LaFay, Vitetta, Armor One, Seeing Red, Freaky Tales. I write 2 stories on Freaky Tales. Well, co-write with Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
There's Delilah Blast. So yeah, a lot.
A lot. Now you sent over Armor I. Am I saying that right?
Armor One. It's Roman numeral 1.
Yeah. Roman numeral 1. Okay, gotcha. So you sent over Armor 1 and Seeing Red, the preview to that, and I could not be more stunned by the divergence of style between those pieces. Right.
Thank you.
I think you did a really good job of like, I mean, they don't feel samey at all. Of course, the settings are different. Armor 1 is correct me if I'm wrong here, because I like I said, I didn't read before the show started. I read about half of the first issue. I was really able to get my teeth into, and it seems like it's a science fiction hero story set in a world of heroes. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, it's part of a shared universe, along with more books. POM, which is Pizza Me, Warbound, Black Bishop, which is my avatar. So yeah, it's all a shared world. This one's a kid's book. It's all ages book. It's written where you can enjoy it no matter what age you are. And yeah, Seeing Red is an adult book, only for adults.
Right, and it's very violent. It's gory. There's some sexual overtones to stuff, but it doesn't seem, from what I looked at, it didn't really seem cheap either. I felt like it fit right into that same kind of vibe as like a Red Sonja kind of thing, and I thought that felt pretty cool. So
I was inspired by Berserk, the manga Berserk.
Okay. Very cool. Now, let's back up a little bit.
I love Berserk.
I have not read Berserk.
The author just died.
Right.
There was a 30-year storyteller, and he's like died like just when things were like reaching, I think, like a kind of climax or getting there.
Yeah, kicking off the third act, basically.
So let's back up a little bit here. So before you started writing everything, how did you get into comics?
I started reading comics around like 10 years old. My friend gave me an Evil Ernie comic, and I checked it out. I enjoyed it. Been reading comics ever since. I started writing comics, say like my early 20s. I stopped, and I started back 5 years ago.
So was there a particular impetus to the writing? Was it something that you thought of for a while and decided to just go ahead and do? Or were you what's your story? Yeah.
I wanted to be a writer since I was 8. I wanted to write novels at first. I used to read Goosebumps and Stephen King, Anne Rice. So I wanted to be like them. And then I decided writing novels is too tedious. I could just write comics way faster and they're more fun.
So, and one of the things that you decided to start writing comics about 5 years ago, and it's probably about 4 years ago I first started seeing you hopping around different internet writer communities and sharing comics you were working on. What I mean, and you just kind of hit the ground running with so many different kinds of things, picking up different genre styles. I was really with Armor One. I was really digging on the a lot of the dialogue too. I felt like it had a voices. I mean, a good voice difference between the characters. So I thought that was pretty neat. I definitely want to finish reading all of that. Twitless, did you get a chance to tuck into any of these stories?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My mouth is full because I'm eating. Give me a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I can talk with my mouth full. I read Seeing Red and The Freaky Tales. They were both really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked the one of the things I really appreciated about Seeing Red is it's got this very angry female protagonist, but I didn't feel like it was a stretch for her to be kicking as much butt as she did, because a lot of it had to do with tactics and about taking their opponents unawares, and there was some craftiness with how the fight scenes are put together. Is that something that you guys that you put into the script, or is that something your artist partner brought to the forefront?
We talked about it. We wanted her to like be a badass, but we don't want her to. We want it to be realistic. So if you see in the comic, she gets her ass kicked pretty bad in the comic. So yeah, we talked about how a woman will fight, but mostly it's all manners. Like I just told them, don't make it to where she is super powerful. She's gonna get caught off guard. She should get her ass kicked. She should be bruised. We just have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked that up. So cool. I like it. But yeah, that was that was really cool. So you got into writing. You decided to go ahead and work with it. And the artists you found to work with all seem to really bring like their A game to the stories. What's your process for working with artists? Do you do like a full script, or how do you hash that out?
It depends on the artist. Like I prefer plot script because I think the artist should give a tell their story because it's a visual medium. So in my plot script I write a paragraph per page. I don't just give them a paragraph for the whole comic. I give a paragraph per page. So it's basically a regular script. Just I don't put the panel numbers. Mm-hmm. I let them decide, and I try to make sure that my artists understand that it's their work, it's their book as well. It's not just my book. You're not a hired monkey. We're partners. We are collaborators in this. Even though I'm paying you, we're still collaborators. This is your book.
And so you hire the artists ahead of time, and then when you guys crowdfund, do they get a portion of that, or how do you guys shake that out? If you don't mind.
It depends on the project. Like Armor One's been done for years. I paid for that out of pocket. Like if you read the cover date, we started Armor One in 2010. We took a break, and we finished it like I think 2019. So that one I paid out of pocket. Seeing Red, it was basically Mannix who worked on Babylon Working, another comic of mine. We were waiting for our colors to get done. We needed money. So I was like, draw me a character. Just draw me a character, I'll come up with a story for it. So he designed her, Ella, and I just came up with a story. And that's how we did that. So yeah, we did 5 pages for the Kickstarter, and he got paid after the Kickstarter his page rate. Mm-hmm. It's mostly after the Kickstarter they get their page rate.
Okay.
And they do get a bonus if we hit certain numbers. So they are incentivized to promote the work as well.
So another question on here, it's totally unrelated to the previous topics. How do you guys say your company name? Because I can't make sense of it.
Evoluzione. It's Italian for evolution.
Okay.
I wanted to name it Evolution Comics. It was already taken. So I just went, and at the time I had a lot of Italian artists, so I just went with that name.
Well, actually, I dig it. I've been reading a little bit of the Fumetti over the summer, so that's kind of a fun little note there. I think that's kind of cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. I like it.
So, if I could offer a small, I guess, critique, but then also pair that with a question, one thing that I did think was a little bit odd to me when I was reading Seeing Red, which had some pretty wild action, but it was clearly a fantasy setting. But I think at one point someone refers to a character as being badass.
Yes.
So we had fantasy characters, but they were talking in modern language. So that did strike me as just a tad bit odd. But then I wanted to transmit that into a question. What is your approach to dialogue for this particular book and your books in general?
In general, I just try to get the voice of the character. For Seeing Red, I purposely wanted modern dialogue because I think in fantasy stories, it's kind of weird for them to be talking in Old English because, in all honesty, they wouldn't be speaking our version of English anyways. So why try to mimic what they're doing? Just write how you would read it now, how we talk now.
Interesting.
I got the reason that I got it from Brian Wood with Northlanders. He got a lot of criticism for that, but I thought it was really cool. So when I came back for me to do a fantasy story, I thought I would do the same thing.
So it was a deliberate choice. Awesome. Okay, no,
Yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you.
No problem.
So, with the characters, back to the hero stuff, to Armor One and the other, and Black Bishop, and you're going to have to forgive me because my memory for all of your characters is not. I should have made a cheat sheet before, but
a lot of stuff.
I didn't. So, you've got a whole cohesive universe, superhero universe that you're working from, and in that universe, you've got. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you've got all ages books and more mature readers kind of stuff, like your hard PG kind of stuff. How do you choose to? Am I correct about that?
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay. How do you choose to balance that? Is that something that you feel is difficult, or is that just something that it feels organic to you?
It feels organic to me because like some stories are not like when you're in the world, not every story in real life is going to be for adults and for kids. We have different experiences depending on our age level. So I basically want to write different experiences for each age level. I also have a teen book as well. I forgot to name that. Damn. Young Rebels, which is also part of that world.
Okay.
It's hard for me to even keep up with so much.
So that brings a really good question when it comes to the managing of all of this kind of stuff, right? What do you do to manage your universe? Have you written like a universe Bible, or how do you go about that?
I've not written a universe Bible. I think I should. I usually just I don't write everything in that. So for like Warbound, Gallardo Martinez is the writer of it. I just gave him an outline of this is the character. This is what the first 2 issues should be. Here's an outline of the first 2 issues. Go off, have fun. Just keep the same vibe as POM because it's spun directly out of POM. Just keep that vibe. So it's basically just talking with the people I work with. But it is hard to manage. But if I didn't have co-writers, it would be a mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we with our little Ideal Comics thing. I don't know if you've seen us around at all. We're not nearly to the level of completion that you guys are at. We're still kind of in the planning phase from way back when, except for our webcomic, which has like 700 pages. But
that's awesome.
But and most of it's really terrible art because I helped draw it. But anyway, point being, when we started out, we came up with a series of documents that we wrote, but the biggest one is our timeline, and it sort of functions like a universe Bible, but it's just got like every major event from like the dawn of time to like 2010. That's where it's all mapped out.
Wow,
and that, yeah.
You're really organized.
Well, Sort of, and of course we've expanded it and that kind of thing too. New ideas that have come up, but that kind of back matter was really fun for us to come up with back in 2005 and 2006. But it was something that we still struggle with, putting out the content, and that's one thing with looking at actually how much material you guys have put out. That's so impressive. And you said you don't write solo yet. You have co-writers and you work
Yeah.
collaboratively with your artists. How many
Yes.
people are on board with Evoluzione? I said it.
For the POM, for POM, for all those books, I write two of them, and Guido writes three of them. So it's just two of us over there. Then for the no sleep stuff, it's myself and Joshua Metzer. He and I basically co-write most of that stuff together. So yeah, it's basically just three writers and a bunch of artists. And we are not as planned as you guys. Like, you guys, that's great. That's amazing. But like, we barely even plan we barely plan our arcs.
Right.
We usually take it issue by issue.
Well, and I'm a big continuity guy, right? Like when I first started coming into comics, really getting into comics, it was DC post Crisis, and going back and reading Roy Thomas back issues with the All Star Squadron and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of these long pictures of history and that whole thing, just really, that was my wheelhouse. That's some stuff I really liked. And I know that's not going to be everybody's thing, but that was something I really wanted to do. So
yeah, we're the total opposite. Like sometimes we have to go back and read the previous issue to remember what happened beforehand before we start writing. Yeah, we don't really plan that much.
Well, I actually there was to tell a little story though on us, even with our Force of Good and Evil. We had one moment where we were working on a joke for us, because it's a comedy webcomic about kids in superhero school, right? But anyway, we were working on a story and we were telling a joke about one of the characters' dads, and then we had to go back and read our archives to make sure, because I forgot to make a note about a previous continuity bit about this character's father. So I had to go back and make sure the joke worked. So, but yeah, I that's one thing I think is, but I love just the stuff that I read. It was super fun, and I definitely did spend some time to read the whole thing. I should have asked you about this when we were going to have you on before, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't want to ask how old you are. I'm not trying to pick on you about that. But you've been working at writing. I mean, of course, before you started making comics, you probably wrote stuff and practiced and thought about plot and all that kind of stuff.
Nah, I actually didn't. I didn't start. I didn't really put pen to paper until I decided I was going to do it. Like, I was naturally in high school, I would like write essays and stories and win contests for that. But when it came to actually writing a novel or a comic, I didn't try it until I actually decided I wanted to do it. I spent most of my time, and once I decided I wanted to write, I read a bunch of books on writing.
Okay.
So like I read Michael Straczynski's book on script. I read The Hero's Journey. I read Danny O'Neill's writing DC Comics book. What else did I read? I read a book on character. I read a book called Don't Murder Your Mystery.
That's a great title. I've not heard of that one.
I read a book on romance. Yeah, like I did a lot of reading before I started to write. So,
that and when it comes to the kind of multiple genres that you're covering here, superhero action, you've got the sci-fi, because I was seeing some heavy sci-fi stuff in the thing there, and you also had in terms of high fantasy kind of stuff. Had you read in those genres a lot, other than just comics? Had that been something that prose writing caught you up, or?
No, I only read horror. I've only read horror novels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because I'm not even really a big fantasy person. Like, yeah. I'm not a big fantasy person. I'm not a big superhero person. I read my first superhero comic, um, like I say about almost 2 years ago. Someone suggested that. Tell me about House of M. I was like, oh shit, really? They got rid of all the mutants? Let me check that out. So yeah, that's one. And so I read that, and I read Messiah Complex. I've read Blackest Night. Yeah, not really. I don't really read. I read mostly indie comics.
Mhm.
Vertigo,
Okay.
Vertigo, SLG, Fantagraphics, Oni. So yeah, I'm not really a big genre person per se,
Okay.
which is kind of weird to actually write a lot of different genre stuff.
Yeah, that is interesting to think about. So do you feel that gives you, or would you even be in a position to know if it gives you a fresh perspective on the genre? I think sometimes genre writers can lean into the tropes in a way that makes it seem like it's too rote, like it's coming off of an assembly line.
Yeah.
Instead of like trying to use the conventions in a new way.
Lean into the tropes like it's too much rote. Sounds like we're all slam poetry blokes.
Come on, Twitless, you've been to my show.
For superheroes, I think I'm at a disadvantage because like when I was trying to show off Armor One, there people were like, "This is like Exxon Man of War." I'm like, "Wait, what? What's that?" All right, let me go look that up. Then I looked it up. I was like, "No, it's not like that."
Well, I think some of the concepts are somewhat like EXO, but it doesn't have the feel that EXO has, right?
Yeah.
And
EXO
some
is
of the
all
feeling.
about. Yeah, EXO is all about basically Iron Man, except it is an old, it's a goth, and so you take this guy who's completely unadvanced, he's a barbarian, and you put him in a super advanced suit. And so not only is he, this is what made classic EXO so good, because he's all the dialogue was basically this barbarian who had to basically invent words and kennings and such to basically describe what was going on while he was wearing the suit. So he's shooting lasers, but he has no idea what a laser is. So he says fire light. So he's like, the firelight is strong. And so he just, everything he's experiencing, I think he calls the suit a good skin, because he's from a time when they didn't even really have armor. So he's just like, well, what is this thing? It's a skin that I put on my skin and it protects me. It's a good skin. So he's like, the good skin and firelight and everything. Sorry, I like EXO.
Well, I never read about it in comics.
Yeah, I mean, like the EXO from like the '60s had a lot of different than like later Valiant remake, where the idea was that in the Valiant books in the late '80s, early '90s, the idea that he'd been like that the Gold Key books and whatever had happened.
That's Solar. EXO was newer.
Well, yeah.
You're talking about Solar Man of the Atom. He's the Gold Key character that they brought in.
Okay. I was pretty sure that they had an EXO back in the '60s too, though. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No,
okay.
EXO. Sorry.
I can be wrong. Oh, it's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, I'm at a disadvantage when it comes to superheroes. Like I had this one backup story in POM called The Unit. Someone was like, "Yo, this is the Authority." I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I've heard of him, never read him.
That's fine.
Yeah, kind of at a disadvantage with that. But when it comes to genre stuff, it kind of helped. It's helped me a lot because people are saying it's new. So yeah, that helps. But superheroes, massive disadvantage.
Curses. Okay. Dadgummit.
What's up?
No, I got myself all confused for a second. So. one of the things that sort of. Is this the new hardcore Twitless? Sorry, I just spotted in the chat. I don't even know what that's about, but it's funny.
It's because I have a very specific like familiarity with like Valiant.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, fine. So anyway, God gummit, I got myself all I forgot where I was at.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I got myself. It's my own damn fault. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. One of the things that I want to talk to you about, and it might be a sensitive topic, right?
I kind of have an idea. No, it's not sensitive.
One of the things I saw that you had getting a little heated about on Twitter a few weeks back was there was all that hullabaloo about representation in comics, and how people say, oh, the big two don't have enough X, whatever their particular flavor of the week tended to be. And one of your comment was, well, minority comics, minority characters, minority creators already exist. Why don't you seek out the people that are making it?
Yes, that annoys the hell out of people.
Well, and I think that's a valid frustration, especially somebody such as yourself, right, who has been working so hard to produce just a volume of work. I mean, from urban fantasy to all ages superhero stuff, this fantasy stuff. You're really putting the time in a way that shames people like me. So I could definitely see how that would be a frustration. Talk to us a little bit about that from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's terrible. Like, people say they want minority leads. So every time I put out a minority book, it fails. I'm like, you guys said you wanted this, you're not buying it. Like with Warbound issue 2, I had to go into groups and guilt them. I was like, you guys said you wanted black superheroes that don't have lightning powers. This dude is a fucking barbarian who's immortal. Why aren't you buying it? You asked for it, I gave it to you.
Well, and that guy looks tough. I mean, you were talking. I remember when you were sharing the campaign right when it launched, and it was that guy. That guy looked tough.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
it worked, but I don't feel like I tried to go in there and basically guilt trip you into buying my work. You said you want it. It's out there. And then people are like, it's not Marvel or DC. Who cares? It's just as good. Sometimes independent comic creators are better than Marvel and DC. They don't have the constraints of corporate overlords. They just literally do what they want.
Well, and I think it's a different thing too, in a lot of ways, because you are, it's definitely a passion. It's not just like you're trying to appeal to the factory. You're not just trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator of salesmanship. You're creating something that you love. And I think that sometimes people lose sight of it. Now, I know, having been somebody who has built comic universes, it's sometimes hard to get people to look into new universes because they're so vested in DC, or they're so vested in Marvel, or they're so vested in Star Wars. They don't want to step outside of their own personal little sandbox. But I also know that that's one thing that we've kind of seen where, people feel like their properties, their favorite, whatever it is, are not necessarily being respected and treated well. And so some folks are looking because they're not getting what they want from Lucasfilm or whatever.
I do hear Marcel's issue though, and some of it is marketing, which I'm learning to do better, but some of it is kind of the situation where people want to complain sometimes more than they want an alternative. That is definitely true. Because I have a superhero comic as well, The Adventures of Omega Girl on Indie Planet, and it's a fun superhero book, and some people have said they really enjoy it. But there have been times where I have, mentioned it, and like I said, people will be, they'll be complaining, oh my gosh, I hate Marvel and DC, I just wish, there was something else out there. And it's like, hello. And then when you show it to them, and then they just like, eh. So there's clearly still a barrier to be broken there.
Mm-hmm.
You get people past their ennui towards the corporations, but actually get them to, try something new.
Well, and for me, this is one of the things where I'm sort of a stick in the mud, because I've pretty much just given up on all of those guys, like the big corporate things, like as a whole, like going to the movies. I mean, people are like, oh, this Suicide Squad looks really good, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. If there is a single joke in it, it's not good. It's absolutely not Suicide Squad. You're just watching a rom-com. That's all it is. That's just the you're totally missing the point. But that's okay, because DC's been missing the point of most of their properties for 20 years. So yeah, I'm a doom and gloomer in terms of a lot of the big corporate media. I think that people have just lost out of it so much that man, like you said, I'm reading indie books. I'm digging on Matt Williams. I mean, not Matt Williams, Matt Weldon and Bill Williams' Punchline. I just started picking up exciting comics from Antarctic, which is just silly short stories, but I'm having fun with it. I've been digging on Twitless's book is like the best Silver Age cheese like that is being produced right now. I mean,
okay.
If you could dig on, if you're a person who could dig on like the Silver or Bronze Age Superman stories, if you liked it, if you like catching out those Supergirl in Chicago books that are being published in the early 80s, you're gonna love The Adventures of Omega Girl. They're just he nails that spirit, and
okay.
And sorry, I just saw in the chat Captain Cummings says I remember when I saw Jaws, which I haven't even seen Jaws.
I've never seen Jaws either.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Depression too?
No. I don't. My grandparents remember the Depression.
Back when comics were 10 cents.
That's true.
I'm just
actually, for part of the Depression, there were 5 cents.
I'm just being mean to Captain Cummings.
I know.
I can't wait till we all get together and talk about Stan Lee. I actually did some reading.
Next week.
Awesome.
That's next week now. I was able to finally confirm with him and with Doug Ernst. It's going to be a good show. But anyway.
Yeah, back to why we're here.
Back to why we're here.
Evoluzione.
Yeah, there you go. With the fancy Italian accent.
Mamma mia.
East Coasters.
Sorry. I had to do my Mario joke for no reason.
Oh. That doesn't matter. My brain. But yeah, so when it comes to when you were talking about and I can't remember the name, your black barbarian character. Warbound. I hate to say it like that, but I couldn't remember his name and I couldn't think of how else.
That's fine. That's fine. That's exactly what he is. He's a black barbarian, basically.
Yeah. Well, he's tough. But anyway, you said part of why you came up with we're working with it is because people were requesting more black characters. When you were going into, I know several of your characters are black or mixed race or whatever. Was that something you specifically intentionally did, or is that just the way you saw the characters growing out of your own comic experience?
It's something I intentionally did. Like, I didn't see many black superheroes when I came up with Armor 1. And I was like, he should be mixed. Like, I have a mixed sibling. Mixed characters aren't really that don't get much representation. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that. Warbound, I was just like, I just want a badass black dude that just beats the fuck out of people. So let me do that. Yeah, it's mainly just with Armor One. It was to serve a purpose, but most of the time it's just I just want to do something, so I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not really thinking about not trying to think about representation really. But Warbound, I came up with the idea years ago, and so it was already. Like if you look on the cover of PLM #1, he's on the cover. So I already had him, and then people were like, "I want representation." I was like, "All right, I already have this character," and Rob the artist needed work because we were waiting on another a colorist to finish up a project. So I was like, "You need work." People say they want a black character. Let me just pull the trigger on this guy, and that's how Warbound came about.
So now you do most of your stuff through like crowdfunding individual campaigns, but do you have like a Gumroad store or something for picking up digital issues or back issues or anything?
Yeah, we're on Gumroad, we're on Indie Planet, we're on Comixology.
Oh, Indie Planet.
We haven't updated our Indie Planet in years. I need to update that. So yeah, we're everywhere basically, except for in stores. We're not in stores.
Yeah, that whole distribution is a whole challenge of itself, trying to get into stores.
Yeah, like the print costs and distributor take, the discounts. It's
So
worth it.
do you get a lot of action on just the digital comics?
Yeah, we do quite well. Just digital comics.
Cool. Sweet.
We should do more. We are missing out on money by not doing more print comics. We should, but I don't want to keep inventory. I already have enough inventory at my house. So yeah, here's digital. If you want a print copy, you get it during the campaign or get it at a con. But yeah, digital is pretty well.
Yeah, you are on the West Coast or thereabouts,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So are you able to plug into the con scene pretty well there? Do you get a lot of traction at cons, or how does that work out for you?
I do 3 cons basically. I do WonderCon, San Diego Comic Con, and this con called Black Comics Day. Black Comics Day is basically I do that one day. I make what I make in the whole weekend at San Diego Comic Con. WonderCon we do pretty well at WonderCon. Last WonderCon we bought a booth. We didn't make our money back, but we got way more traffic than being in small press. And we don't have enough. They don't give you enough space in small press for all the books we have.
So now, of your writing crew, are they all stateside, or are they also in foreign lands?
Joshua is in Illinois, so he's stateside, and Guido is in Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you how has it been working with people long distance like that? Do you feel like you get a good chemistry on those folks, or?
Yes, we basically do Messenger. I hate email. Right? The people that work with on email, specifically via email, we don't really connect. I feel but people that I chat with, we connect. The chemistry is great.
Cool. Sweet. So what do you now? What's your long term plan? What are the things that you're looking at for the future?
For the future, we want to go into bookstores with our trades. You're discounting in the bookstore. Well, when you do a trade, your discount doesn't really hurt you that much because the printed trade is not that bad. So we want to do bookstores. We want to offer more merch. Hopefully, develop a video game pretty soon on my app game for one of our IPs.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to do multimedia stuff for our characters, but it's always comics first. We care most about the comics, making sure the comics are great, and the other stuff is just icing on the cake.
Very cool.
Like people have been asking for merch. I've been hesitant because I feel like we don't have enough fans for merch to justify merch. But I decided to just try Teespring, see how it goes. This should be Armor One's the first time we're offering T-shirts. So far, we sold like 2 during the campaign, but that's not really that's not one of our big IPs. So maybe with one of our big IPs, we'll do more T-shirts.
So, which would you say is your most popular character or set of characters?
LaFay.
LaFay.
LaFay, yeah. Crowdfunding, we do about 1,000 backers. Digital comics, we move a couple hundred a month.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what do you think is there a particular element in that? Do you think that makes the difference on that? Because those are some respectable numbers, man.
Yeah.
I think it's because the familiarity of the character. We took a character people know more than LaFay. We just did our twist on her, which is she's a private eye in the modern world. She's powerless. And so she's working with these witches to try to get her powers back.
Okay.
So yeah, that's by far our most popular IP. Followed by Pateta, which we did one crowdfunding campaign, which was pretty successful. We sell a lot via in demand on Indiegogo still. We just released the Comixology version. It was on the bestsellers list for like 2 weeks.
Very cool.
And then Freaky Tales is our third biggest IP, followed by Seeing Red. And then everything else is just there, basically. Hoping to get a bigger audience for it.
So now, you have 2 campaigns going right now, or you will?
No, I have one campaign for Armor One, which is on Kickstarter, and tomorrow the Indiegogo for Seeing Red 3 Thorns launches. This will be our first company crossover. It's Ella from Seeing Red and the 3 Thorns from Freaky Tales together in a one shot.
Okay.
It launches tomorrow at noon on Indiegogo. The first backer gets a cameo we do prints, and we do 1 print per campaign. So the first backer gets a cameo in the print for this campaign.
Okay. Well, I'm going to drop the links for those here in the chat really quick. So
cool,
give me just a second to get those on there.
And the Seeing Red 3 Thorns is written by Guido Martinez, with art by Ario Mattriarchy. I think that's his name. Yeah.
If you want to share anything on your screen as well, I periodically I've been just pulling some static images to show off your awesome artwork so that the chat can see that and get excited about your books. But if there's anything that you wanted to share from your campaign or anything, we can certainly display it here as well.
I am on my phone, so I cannot share anything.
Oh, okay,
I'm at work right now, so I'm on my phone.
Okay. I hear that. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy workday.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, actually, I'd love to just, gesture out to the chat. Chat, do you have any questions that you would like to ask of our esteemed guests here today from Evolution? If you do, just type them in chat. We would be very happy to ask. Sorry, at least I think we would. Reese, would we be happy to ask?
Sure. Okay. Well, mostly, as long as they're not asking to come on again. I'm still not ready for that.
I think we should do it at some point, but maybe we should just vet it a little better.
Yeah, I think maybe that would be a wise decision.
Okay.
What happened?
Oh, there's a fellow Jay who came on the week you couldn't. We just kind of had a bullshit session, and this guy was asking some good questions in the chat, and then he asked to come on, and it was interesting. It was an interesting experience that man, I'm still not prepared. I'm still not recovered from.
let's just he derailed the conversation. Is I think
Yes.
is the best way. To
Yes,
put
he
it.
did. Yes, he did. But that's okay.
Okay.
But sure, no. We're not upset. It was just like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, it was it was fine. But
Mostly.
yeah. There you go. RJ from Critical Blast
RJ.
says open mic is a dangerous experience. This is true.
Yeah, anyone from
100% true.
chat, ask some questions. Come on.
So, but I do have a question there for you, Marcel.
Okay.
Going back to the Black creator idea, right?
Yeah.
There are a couple of theories, a couple of ideas where it comes to representation in comics, where people or literature or art or even society, that said that where one side says, you get to know your subject, history, culture is like any other subject, do your research, write with respect, and you're good.
Yeah.
The other side says, well, no, you have to have lived the experience to appreciate the experience enough to write the experience. Where do you stand on that?
I stand on research because I write a lot of women. I'm not a woman. So, yeah.
This is true.
It's a lot of research, talking people up to gain their experience if you don't have that experience. Like most of my comics, before I even put them out, I give them to someone in my family who's a woman to read them to see if I'm accurate. So yeah, as long as you research, you should be fine.
Yeah. I kind of follow along that line too, and part of my reasoning for that is it's at the risk of appeal to authority, but some of the best female dialogue I've read in anything was written by Chuck Dixon in Birds of Prey, and he grew up as the only boy in a house full of sisters, so he had a lifetime of watching girls talk to each other, and he writes girls talking to each other really, really well.
We have a question from chat from My Pickles. Favorite CF books. What is
I don't
CF
know what that means. What is CF?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what CF stands for.
Is it cartoon funny books?
Children's fantasy?
Children's fantasy? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I would be able to answer that. I don't read
English
fantasy.
nachos, you're going to have to explain yourself before we can answer that question.
But I will say that I think it's interesting. Crowdfund. Oh, he made crowdfund books. What's your favorite
crowdfund.
books? Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, okay. What am I currently? I'm poor, so I don't back make crowdfunding campaigns. Like weird makes me like some campaigns don't make what they need to make, so I have to pay for them. So I don't have money to buy a lot of crowdfunding books. The last one I bought was from Justin Gray, Billy the Kid of the West. It was a western about a cat. That was pretty cool. I wish I could buy more. There's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, that's one of the eternal curses of the comic book aficionado. You always, your eyes are always bigger than your ability.
And I think that for a while in a lot of the crowdfunding space, people were so concerned with it being kind of a new platform, a new environment, that they were losing out on some opportunities to sell books outside of the campaign experience. Right.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a lot more indie creators go to Gumroad, have their own stores, beyond Comixology, right? Where they'll, after their backers get their products, about opening it up to new markets, and not just crowdfund, not just conventions, but also looking at these other sales venues. So I know that there are some books that I missed out on, that I am pretty glad that that are going into multiple printings or offering a digital option. I know that like Long Harbor, which I've had my eye on for years, and I just when it was campaigning, I did not have the scratch, but they're selling it on the I forgot the name of their company. Iconic Comics website. So I'm pretty excited that next month I think I'm going to try to splash out on that one.
I have a list. I have a list of books I want to buy, but yeah, it's not me that I have bought. Hey, I want to buy Common Rider. That looks fun. That looks really fun. Have you guys tried that yet?
Which one?
Common Rider? Or Common America? Common
Common
America.
America?
America. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Common Rider is the old TV show. Common America.
Yeah. For a minute, I was like, Common Rider.
Yeah, Common Rider, the old TV show.
But no, the Common America. I've actually I've got all of it. Well,
Okay.
except for the Bell County exclusive because I don't live in Texas. But no, I've been on board that for a while.
That's okay. Reese, you can get all the Nebraska-based exclusives.
There aren't any.
No, that's what I was.
I already have.
You are the Nebraska exclusive.
I am. Well, I do have a cameo in the second Black Ops book where I get.
Isn't there? Is it Milestone? They call it the Nebraska verse or Dakota verse? I think
the Dakota verse. Dakota's the
right.
town, the main city, and
it's the Dakota verse.
It's close.
Yeah. Well, I think it's supposed to be like South Sioux Falls, like in that area where there's a megalopolis in that area instead of being elsewhere. I think they're fictional cities set. It's not Chicago. It's not Minneapolis. It's like west, further on from there. Into there. But here is Pickles is putting my pain into perspective. That's true. It's true. This poor fellow is stranded in North England. Have they let you out of your house yet out there, or are you guys still locked away from the Rona? I can't keep track. I know there's some people out and about in London, but I'm not sure if that's the whole country or not.
Australia is the one that's really locked down right now.
Well, except except the Bogans are revolting. Now it's good to see. But they're fully open. They're fully open. I'm glad to hear. I don't like the idea about people getting kept in their doors over anything. Really. Well, unless your limbs are falling off because you've got, some sort of skin, bacterial skin infection. Then yeah, you maybe want to stay away from people, but that's different. I just believe that's different. Okay, well, guys, it is coming up on coming up on the top of the hour. And see here. There we go. The Kickstarter is there. I just dropped that again into the chat for Armor Eye, if I'm recalling. Yes, I am right. And
it's done. The book is done. You don't have to wait. Issue 4 is done. Issue 5 is done. So as soon as we hit our goal, we'll start letters and you'll get the book.
Sweet. And here is also, I'm just dropping again, the link for Seeing Red X3 Thorns, which is a fantasy crossover event that you should check out. It looks really fun. Is that book also done as well?
No, that one's not done.
That one's not. Okay.
That one needs crowdfunding to be finished. It's kind of an expensive book.
It's cool. Twitless, of course, is super excited. He jumped into the Ideal Comics Discord like a squealing little girl yesterday because.
Well, this is issue 1. I am currently waiting for proof copies for the second issue, which I can share a picture of if you give me a second.
Issue 1, I read. I really enjoyed. I've already mentioned that, but it's fun.
Let's see here. And I would love to do a show with you about it at some point. But
well, definitely. We'll definitely.
But this is on Indie Planet. You can get a copy of it for pretty cheap. $3.99 for print, $1.99 for PDF, I believe. And here we go. Classic superhero action, defending the futuristic paradise of Angel City against the forces of Jackal. Come join the adventure. And here is
you've got in that first volume, it's 4 mini stories that are in there, right?
So there's 3 mini stories and one slightly longer one.
Okay.
The hijack story with the electrical guy's a little longer.
Oh, right. It's fun though, man. It's a real ride. It's great stuff.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. And this is the cover of issue 2. And like I said, thank you. Yeah. So there's some overlap, Marcel. I'm doing some superhero comics and creating my own universe as well. So it's really good to meet you and talk about this.
Likewise, I want to read this.
Yeah, awesome. and like there was their the Adventures of Omega Girl. It's straight superhero adventure. It's fun stuff. It's not too dark, but it's not silly or cheesy. Well, it's the slightest bit of cheese. I mean, superhero comics are just kind of cheesy anyway. You can't get away from the superhero cheese if you're going to tell a superhero comic. But it's the good stuff. It's not the roll your eyes and I can't believe this is going on stuff. You accept the absurdity of the premise and you love it. People can fly and that's okay.
If you give me a second, I can do one teeny sneak preview. So let me do a sneak preview. It's just a teeny one. Let me see here. I always love showing off my villains because half of the fun of superhero books is the creation of new characters. So. So this is a page of a new villain that Omega Girl's going to fight named Muckraker. He's a sludge kind of monster with toxic sludge and shapeshifty type powers.
I'm 100% jealous of your villain names. I'm not even kidding.
Oh,
I actually like that name as well.
Names are hard. He's a former journalist, so we actually played into the whole the idea that names are hard. We could do a whole stream. I'd love to do it where we just talk about how hard is it to name characters.
Well, and,
I'll be down for that if you want to have me back. That sounds fun to talk about.
Okay, we'll work that in probably October then. So
that sounds good.
Yeah. It sounds like fun. And let's see here. The other thing is also, since we're talking about Twitless, I can't not mention his hilarious 4 comedy superhero school webcomic, which is not unlike Forces of Good and Evil, but it's superschool.com. Check that out there.
400 strips for free. Just take your time, have fun with it.
Wow.
We release on a weekly basis.
But if you like your superhero comedy, it's slightly more underground and far more organized. Check out Forces of Good and Evil.
Yep.
And that's mine. It's more than 700. I think it's more than 700 pages right now. We've got 24 chapters that are cover the first year of these kids' super high school career. It's their junior year, where Chad and Greg, the local bully, and his nerd best friend end up getting sent to superhero and supervillain school, respectively. And the nerd goes to villain school, and the bully goes to hero school, and everything goes upside down. And they spend the first year in the middle of all that. It's all, if you follow his website, it's all black and white. You can read the entire story. Over on Webtoons, we are putting up as I get them colored. We're doing the archives in color. And we'll be collecting the first year at least into a digest-sized book sometime in the next 12 months, which will be available for sale. So, but yeah, that's that whole story. And there's other stuff. But next week, Captain Cummings, Doug Ernst, talking about Stan Lee. The week after that, we've got, I cannot remember it. We're going to be talking more projects with some people. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about, we're going to have Matt Krotz, #1 Marmaduke fan, back. And we'll be talking about American-born Chinese in our ongoing study of the work of Jean Lewin Yang. And that'll be that. So that's going to be fun. And maybe a surprise guest. I haven't gotten confirmation yet, but maybe. It's not that big a surprise. No, it is.
Are you going to get Gene?
Oh, I wish.
Okay.
I'm not ready for that. I actually am interested in reaching out to him to talk about stuff, but I want to have a little more in my sack to talk to him about stuff. I want to read more of the new Superman. So I'm intrigued to compare his indie stuff to his contracted stuff. So, but I don't feel like I have enough yet. So, but yeah. Total side note: I mentioned this on our few weeks ago. In this, the Shadow Hero that Gene wrote so good. Okay, that's it. That's the show, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Those of you who did, guys, give Evolution a check, a look at this stuff. It's super fun, and I don't think there's a harder working guy in indie comics. There are probably guys that work as hard, but I don't think anybody works harder. Marcel just putting books out.
Definitely. Yep.
I'll tell you what. So gotta respect that drive. You gotta respect it. Okay, we're called it a night, and until next time, keep reading comics. Bye.
Bye.
See you later, guys.